Hello everyone, Max here with Fiction Rant to bring you another full breakdown versus series. This time featuring the long-awaited Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40k against the Terrans from Starcraft. Before we get started though, I have a coffee link in the description if you want to support the channel. Alright, a little bit of background on each side, and I'll start with the Imperium. The Imperium of Man is a futuristic, distant future, 41st millennium, gigantic stellar empire that rules over 1 million plus worlds across the galaxy and has the Emperor of Mankind, an immortal and powerfully psychic being, as its head. Their forces include the Imperium Guard, Space Marines, Sisters of Battle, and sorta the Mechanicus, who build and maintain their technology, but they're kinda their own faction in a lot of ways. The whole empire is basically a xenophobic religious cult, which employs inquisitors to root out anything that they might consider heresy with extreme prejudice, up to and including the feared exterminatus, the purging of all life from the surface of a whole planet. Their xenophobia means that any and all alien races are abominations with whom there should be no negotiation, only war, at least officially. The thing is that despite the fact that their technology is oddly antiquated and clunky in a lot of ways, their absolute refusal to innovate beyond a certain threshold for fear of repeating the mistakes of the past, and the fact that the Xenos, non-human enemies that they fight, are formidable in their own right, the Imperium is able to face all other factions in the Warhammer universe at the same time and generally hold their own just fine. It's even theorized that if the Imperium was able to actually concentrate their efforts upon one of their rivals instead of, all of them, they'd be able to defeat them in pretty short order, but they're spread too thin dealing with everybody else in the galaxy and their own internal issues that they can't manage to pull it off. Meanwhile, the Terrans from Starcraft are, oddly enough, significantly more grounded and less insane. They're pretty fascist, but don't have any religious cult vibes, and they too are in the unenviable position of having to fight multiple alien factions at the same time. But at least so far, they're managing to hold their own. Probably the biggest distinguishing factors between the Terrans and the Imperium are that the Terrans only hold hundreds or maybe thousands of worlds, so their numbers are pretty vast but not essentially limitless. And they're not afraid to innovate to fight their enemies, though I'd argue that the starting point for technology is significantly less advanced than the Imperium. I'll go ahead and link a couple lore videos by other channels in the description if you want more information on each faction. There's a lot there, and they've done a much better job of exploring the lore than I have, so I'll leave all that stuff to them. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and summarize the points of comparison and matchups I'll be doing over the next few weeks. As usual, I'll be comparing their speed capabilities both on the ground and in space, their weaponry, defenses, numbers, unique advantages, and tactics. I'm sure I'll be getting some stuff wrong along the way, so please call me out in the comment section when I miss something. It's honestly been super helpful for every one of these series that I've done so far. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the comment section of this channel. You guys are awesome. And yeah, a lot of you know a lot more about one franchise or the other than I do, and I absolutely take your input to heart. I'll also have to make judgment calls on a fair bit of each category since both factions are heavily gamified and are thus scaled to be balanced in terms of gameplay, not in terms of reality. Plus, Imperium information is inherently inconsistent and unreliable because it's kinda supposed to actually be that way. All the stories are basically framed as being propaganda of one kind or another. Once I've gone over each category, I'll be doing a variety of matchups, those being 1v1 ships, fleet versus fleet, 1v1 soldier. I'll probably have to do a few of these since normally I would be doing best of the best versus best of the best, but so much of that is contextual and each side has quite the variety of units, so I could reasonably pair off quite a number of them. I'll then do army versus army, and finally a galactic scenario. Here's where things get a little bit weird. Normally, for my galactic scenarios, I assume a fresh, uncolonized galaxy where neither side has an initial foothold, and they have to work their ways across the galaxy to eventually encounter each other, and based on a combination of their abilities and the speed at which they can create new colonies, I try to figure out which side would win a full-scale conflict and, conquer the galaxy, at least as well as I can. I'll certainly still do that for this matchup, but the problem with doing that is that in the case of the Imperium, their nearly endless legions of troops are kind of a core feature of their strength. So by starting them off with basically nothing, I would kind of unreasonably be nerfing them. So in this case, I'm also going to do an additional scenario, a modified, basically they each have their own footholds in their own galaxy, but their respective enemies are gone. And then I'm just going to smash the two galaxies together as they are and see what happens. They're going to have all of their colonies, and I'm going to smash that all together. I'm not going to worry about Earth overlap. I'm going to treat it like it's, parallel universes colliding or something. Earth is still the origin of humanity in both universes, so I can't really say, yeah, they exist in the same places at the same time, because they'd have colonies on the same worlds instantly, and it would be really awkward. Just roll with me on this. I'm going to try to mash them together as well as I can. So yeah, expect new videos on this topic for the next few weeks. I've also been getting requests for pitting the Protoss against a faction from 40k, either the Eldar or Tau. So if you want to comment which of those matchups you'd like to see, I'll start working on doing that series sometime down the line as well. Honestly, I'll probably finish this series, do some filler episodes, and then tackle the Protoss matchup, since these versus series are pretty gigantic, and I have a toddler. So it's kind of hard to put in a lot of research time week after week after week, and sometimes I need a breather. But what do you all think? Do you think this will be a pretty interesting fight, or pretty one-sided? Do the Terrans technically count as Xenos, or are they just heretics? Let me know in the comments below. Again, I have a Ko-fi link in the description, along with links to lore videos created by bigger fans of each series than I'll ever be. And until next time, live long and prosper, and may the Force be with you.